Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Night Owl, a show that we do twice a week where we talk about all the latest in pop culture news, TV and movie reviews, gaming news, and just the general conversations of the day. For those who don't know me, I'm Price of Reason, and with me, as usual, is my co host, Professor R2. How's it going, Professor?
I'm doing well. It was a busy week this past week with spring break and all sorts of stuff, traveling and everything. I'm still recovering a little bit, but I'm doing fine. It's been a nice day. Getting starting to get some lovely spring weather, which always puts a spring in your step, right? To just have some nice weather, you can go out and enjoy it. So, yeah, I'm here. How are you doing, Price?
I'm doing okay. Yeah, I was just got done watching those two episodes of Daredevil. I don't know if you got a chance to watch
Oh, I
them.
did. I did not have the opportunity to fit it in tonight. Had a busy
It's
evening. So
okay.
yeah.
It's okay. It's not such a big
I
deal.
saw that they dropped 2 episodes though. What was the rationale behind that,
I have
do
a
you think?
feeling that I think I know. I will tell you because I don't think this is a spoiler of any. It's not a real spoiler. In the first episode, Matt Murdock goes to the bank and he sees like Miss Marvel's father working there. I think it's her father, if I
Ah,
remember correctly from the movie and from the show that I try to forget, but that's what I think it was. So basically, this guy is working there at the bank. And Matt's talking to him about his business, and there's some kind of heist that goes on. The part that I think is kind of cringe that he's like, "Look, there's a Funko Pop of my daughter. My daughter is Miss Marvel. She's so great." And Matt Murdock kind of doesn't know who she is, which is kind of strange. You'd think he'd know, but in any case,
mhm.
he doesn't know who she is, and he's like babbling about like Kamala Khan a few times, and I think that that'll probably rub people the wrong way. I almost feel like they did two episodes one after the other so that they don't leave on the Miss Marvel note. You know what I mean? Like they shift to another episodes that's actually probably better, and then like the way you end the evening is okay, well this wasn't that bad, you know what I mean?
So maybe they thought maybe the first of the 2 episodes was a really weak episode, and they had to give everybody something else to keep them hanging around for another week.
Vex Electronica says 2 episodes to satisfy both of your holes. That's true. Vex,
Well,
by the
yes.
way, you're invited to hang out with us, although I assume that you're already sleeping in bed. This is when Vex wants to fall asleep, she puts on the night owl. That's
Yeah.
some people take sleeping pills, which I'm not recommending, and some people like Vex listen to the night owl. It's
But,
really
I've had podcasts where there's somebody with just this incredibly soothing voice, and you wanna listen to what they have to say, but at the same time, it just kinda lulls you off to sleep. It's kinda nice.
I have a confession that I think that yesterday I wanted to listen to something. I think, oh, okay. Somebody sent me a clip of you and I and everybody that was on the Brown Alliance panel. I think Vex was there and Mr. Brown. He sent like a clip of us talking, and I was kind of tired, and I put it on. And listening to us, I fell asleep. I don't know what that says about that panel, but I listened to it and I fell asleep while listening to it. So
Yeah, I think Brown's trying to change some things up. He's gonna start, clipping out segments from the Sunday show and posting those, to help bring in some more audience.
I
So,
don't mind
yeah.
that. I mean, I think that we have some nice things.
Yeah.
Vex Electrona says, but thank you. What? Uh,
She
I
says,
assume.
I'll never sleep if I if she joins, but thank you."
Oh, I didn't see the comment. Where do
Yeah.
you see it? I don't see it, but I don't know. I understand that she. Yes, I realize like we keep her company while she's in bed, and
Yeah.
that's not necessarily a bad thing. Uh,
Oh,
Again, I will say this quickly, and we'll move on. Many years ago, in one of my first jobs ever, I worked at sort of a call center, and I would call customers and talk about things, and I don't know what. And there were a few times that like women were very happy to hear my voice. Like I don't know. So I figure I don't know if I have anything else that's good, but the voice, the soothing voice, they were digging it. So
they were
that
enjoying it.
actually happened at a call center. Some lady's like, "Wow, you sound great." It's like, "You don't know what I look like." I mean, sound great. I don't know. It doesn't mean anything, you know? But yeah, that actually happened to me. In any case, where were we? we have um, we have our topics of the day. Let's see
Yeah, a few different
what
things to talk about here.
So for starters, there's Donald Trump versus voter fraud.
Oh yes, yes. He's definitely been spending some time talking about that today. There's been well, first of all, I mean, the main thing that he did was have an executive order. So yeah, there's an executive order today. It's known as the Preserving and Protecting the Integrity of American Elections Order. And it had a number of things to say, a number of different ideas of how we might be able to offer some protections. Uh, a lot of the questions around this are about whether or not he actually has the authority to do this. As many people know, the elections in the United States are primarily controlled by the states themselves. So the states actually make a lot of the decisions that have to do with, okay, how are we going to hold these elections, and what things are going to go on what ballots, and how do we, divide up all the different districts and everything like that. So uh, for the federal government to come and say, all right, we're going to have an executive order, or even a law that says we're going to change the rules. We're going to change how we decide election day is going to work. We're going to change how the ballots work, or the who's eligible to vote or whatever. There's a lot of questions as to how much uh, he's he's actually going to be able to change these things using these framework of an executive order. But uh, the primary ideas, the primary things behind this executive order had to do with, first of all, preventing foreign nationals, quote unquote, from voting. So ensuring that people who are not legally citizens are not allowed to vote.
Which makes sense,
Yeah, which of
actually.
course it makes sense. Obviously, there's a lot of protections already to say, you're not allowed, you have to attest that you're a legal citizen or whatever. But essentially, what the executive order wants to enforce is to say, we need some sort of evidence. We need documentation that actually shows you are a legal citizen in order to register to vote. Uh, that one I think is going to be a challenge, but we'll have to see exactly what happens. There's going to be court orders and stuff immediately that are going to challenge this stuff. But having that documentation, especially since there's some of the stuff that's in here, like real ID, saying, oh, if you have real ID, that counts. But not all real ID has verification of citizenship on it. So I don't know. There's going to be some weird stuff there. But essentially saying, right, you have to be not just register, but in order to register, you do have to have some kind of documentation. That's really the biggest thing that was part of this, was the citizenship, and pressing the states to help with the verification of this eligibility. So there's also some stuff in there that has to do with more heavily prosecuting election crimes. That's interesting. That part of it might be a little more easily enforceable on the federal level. And then the other big part of it was voting systems, like the basically saying, all right, you're using voting systems that are affecting federal elections, so your voting systems have to meet these standards, right? Because
Okay.
technically the state gets to make those decisions, but they're saying, well, those same systems are used for federal elections, so we're going to put some restrictions on what you can use, right?
Right.
Oh, excuse me.
It's okay.
So uh, essentially, like they want to have the Secretary of Homeland Security is going to work with the Election Assistance Commission, and they're going to basically do some reviews of different systems that are available. They're going to provide some guidelines, and then once these reports and guidelines and stuff are in place, they're going to say, all right, these are the things that your election, uh, you know, ballot counting procedures, your voting systems, and everything have to meet. My hope is that they're simply going to say, because this is what I have said for a long time. paper ballots every time, every district. The internet connected computer touch screen things, they're awful.
It's in our day and age, it's really risky to do the whole internet. It's exactly the kind of thing that's ripe for some kind of
Yeah,
fraud
yeah.
or hijacking or hacking or whatever you want.
Yes,
At
it
the
is.
end, it may sound strange, but the old school notes, writing them down, that's probably the best. I mean,
I
don't think that
I've
there still could be shenanigans even then, but man, that is better.
but there can be shenanigans, but there's a paper trail, and it's much more difficult for someone to commit some kind of fraud, creating a whole bunch of fake ballots, or altering a bunch of ballots, or destroying a bunch of of paper ballots. It's much harder to get rid of that paper trail than it is for somebody to go in and alter a spreadsheet and put 10,000 more votes somewhere, right? It's a lot harder to do that if you've got that paper ballot. And I've been in a number of different districts. We moved around to different states, and a lot of them have very similar things. You either have a paper ballot where you connect a line together, right? You just take a marker and you
Right.
connect one line to the other side and say, all right, this is who I'm voting for. Or you have the ones where you fill in the little dot and then you run it through a scanner, just like a Scantron thing you would have in a school, right?
Yeah.
Those, you have a paper ballot, it's quick and it's easy to fill it out, and it takes, no time at all to count it because you have the little scanning machine. And if something goes wrong with the scanning machine, you've got the paper ballots to count afterwards. Those work perfectly well. They're fast, they're cheap, and I just think that that is the only way to go to actually provide confidence in the voting systems that we have. These digital systems, the touchscreen things, I have used those. I was in a district for a while where we had those touchscreen things, and I could not stand them. They were weird, and their things were arranged funny, and like they'll do things like it'll sort of randomly rearrange the candidates, why do you need to do that, right? When you fill out a paper ballot, they all look exactly the same. I don't just, so it's just strange the kind of stuff that they would do with these digital voting machines, and I want nothing to do with them. I don't think we should have them anywhere.
I
But
agree.
yeah,
Hey, John Green. It's
hey,
like
Sean Green.
There's so many easy ways to do this. There's countries that you see, I don't know if it's in Korea or whatever it is. There's places that they just do this kind of, old school approach. And if you're well organized and you're prepared for it, I think that in our day and age, that's probably the best. It always worries me that you're clicking on something that goes into some system. And I think that normally everybody should want this. I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican or somebody that's sort of like an independent, which is what I usually consider myself. Even though it's difficult to be,
Yeah,
it's difficult to like lean left these days, but you understand what I'm saying.
yeah,
It just in general, I want to know that the whatever the election is, that is really the will of the people, which means I want it to be fair. I want it to actually matter. If it's all just like doesn't matter and it's all rigged, then there's something wrong with the system. So
yep.
yeah,
And another thing that they've kind of to go along with this is that they want to ensure that also ballots cannot be received after election day, like for whatever reason. Like they should be done on election day in person. But if it's something where they have an absentee ballot, it has to be received by election day. None of this, oh, we've still got things pouring in, they're still showing up, and 4, 10, 12 days later, whatever. Oh, look, it got postmarked on election day, so we have to count it even though it showed up 14 days late. This stuff is ridiculous, right? So absentee and provisional ballots and stuff like that, mail-in ballots received after election day would no longer be counted, and so they would have to be handled in a faster, better way. And I think that's important. I think it's important too that there's a lot of these areas where they're stretching the count of these ballots out like a ridiculous amount. I mean, you and me were here doing the election together, right? Back in November. And
right.
2 weeks later, there were still votes being counted. We're like, they still hadn't called Arizona or whatever, right? It's like, that's insane. There are other states that have bigger populations that were able to count their votes more quickly. And
Absolutely.
it just does not give people a feeling of confidence that what is being done is actually being done correctly, that there's not something fishy going on in the background, right? And I think more than anything, I think that's what we should have. We should have confidence that our votes are being cast, they're being counted, and that there's not any other weird shenanigans going on. There's always going to be people who are going to cry foul about this thing or another, but I want the American people just to be more confident that their elections are being handled fairly.
I agree. And by the way, Kivo 1961 has sent us on Rumble, like a Rumble
Yes.
rant for $5. Let me see. I see it right here. Let me show it. Kivo 1961, simple national elections, presidents, senators, Congress elections on a postcard sized ballot. Then the states can do whatever they want with all their local or state elections. You know, it's a thought. Professor, you're back
Oh yeah, sorry, I
and better than ever.
had a browser.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree here that the most important thing is Congress and president to be on a postcard side ballot, like he said, like something that you personally do, and they can do what they want with their like local stuff. Although honestly, whatever it is, it's still all across the board better if somebody actually has a real paper trail. I think
Mhm.
we saw this. One of the problems I had with the 2020 election uh, is that I feel like I'm more of a moderate person in the way I see things. I can understand why some people on the right, including Trump himself, was annoyed with how things went down in 2020. For starters, that whole mail-in thing was not good. It was a system that they weren't prepared. They were ill prepared to do the mail in, and in addition to that, it just opens the door for a lot of problems. Uh, and it could open potentially problems for anybody down the road, whether it's a Republican or a Democrat. This whole system is just not a good system. Uh, in addition to that, I think that I think that the whole thing with Hunter Biden's laptop, that was the way that, like, big tech all kind of worked together to try to like sell these narratives was really, really bad. So to take that along with this mail-in system, there was this feeling that something was kind of off about those elections. Uh,
Oh yeah.
Proving sometimes like the more shady stuff is the more difficult. I'm not saying that it couldn't have happened. I'm just saying that sometimes proving that is more difficult. But I think that if there's something that we should learn from that election is really that we need to do this the old-fashioned way. We can't leave. There were situations that somebody's like, "Oh, I found this thumb drive, and this thumb drive has more votes." It's like, what? Do you remember that? Like in
Oh
Arizona,
yeah.
they're like, "Hey, we're in Arizona. Here's a thumb drive." I'm like, "What? What are you talking about? What thumb drive?" I never want to hear that again. You know what I mean? Like, I never want
Exactly.
there to be like a real election that somebody really cares about how many votes goes to who, and you're really voting and you think this is real, and somebody's like, "Hey, I found a thumb drive." I never want to hear anybody say that ever again.
Yeah. Oh, look at the votes we found. Yeah, that's no, that sounds terrible. Oh, look, we found another container of votes that didn't get counted. How'd that happen? Yeah, it's so fishy when you hear that stuff.
First of all, I want to thank Nick Weiser, who apparently has sent us some people our way, which is really cool. Thanks, Nick.
Yeah.
You know what? He's probably already dozing off, but I will even send him a link and he will sleep and not see it until the morning. But I do like Nick.
Apparently his name is not Nick anymore, it's Fluffy.
And I'm stuffy apparently. That's
Fluffy and Stuffy. Okay.
what the rumor is.
Ah, I see.
And then I'll just send him this thing and I'll say if you feel like joining. He's probably eating a
You you
pot of what'd you say?
he can come and talk about Snow White again.
He's probably eating some beefaroni as we speak.
Oh, I could go with some beefaroni.
The funny thing is that I once ate beefaroni. Only once, I think, in my whole life. I only ate it once. I'll tell you why. I was in my like early 20s, and I was living. I wasn't really doing a lot in the kitchen, and I think that they had a beefaroni, a one that you could put in the microwave or something. I know this all sounds weird. I think it was something you put in the microwave, and I basically got it, and I thought to myself, "Oh, like this will be easy. I'll microwave it," or I don't know what I was thinking to myself, and I heated it up and I ate it, and man, I think I felt sick afterwards. I'm sorry, nothing personal, like against Chef
Oh
Boyardee.
yeah, no, Chef Boyardee. That poor guy. I mean, the stuff he used to make, like way back in the day, like it was way different than anything they're making now. It's all so full of preservatives. I actually got, I thought it would be fun. I ate a bunch of that stuff when I was a kid. Of course, like I've mentioned before, when we were kids, I was fairly poor as a kid. Um, all right, we kind of just ate what we could afford. Didn't mean we didn't have good food. Just sometimes it was kind of cheap. There's TV dinners and stuff. But no, we would eat Chef Boyardee all the time when I was a kid, like uh, raviolis and whatnot. So yeah, I bought some of that the other day because I thought, oh, I'll let my daughter try it. Maybe she'll like it, whatever. And she opened up that can. She looked at the Spaghettios in the bowl, and she just looked at me like I was some sort of mutant or something. Like, what did you just put in front of me? This weird stuff with orange sauce on it, right? Oh yeah, I've had beefaroni many a time. Yeah, been a while though.
It's just not good. I don't know. It doesn't now. There's a rumor that maybe back in the day when like Chef Boyardee invented the thing,
Yeah,
maybe it was like more high end then.
yeah,
But it ain't high end today. That's what I'll
yeah,
tell you. Not
yeah.
not to my taste. That's and I think that when I was young, I also ate those spaghettios or whatever it is. Man, I don't know. Maybe when you're a kid, you could sell a kid some weird things, or maybe it was better back then.
Well,
But
I mean, even back then, like the sauce that's been on that stuff, since like the 1970s when they changed a bunch of recipes, like that stuff, that sauce is just so sugary. Like it's
really,
not like
yeah.
any real pasta sauce you're gonna get on anything else.
Another weird one was like Hamburger Helper
Oh yeah,
with that weird hand, and like it's not even very good, that Hamburger Helper. Like I was
the weird
never
hand.
into it. Never excited about Hamburger Helper. I want to, I'm very thankful that in my family, that wasn't considered something that was well liked. You know what I mean? Maybe like SpaghettiOs I ate once, and I think that was it. I don't think it's something that people were like giving me every second. Uh, the Hamburger Helper, I'm struggling to remember if ever it was even made in my household. I think that like it would be considered an insult that you even need like help from this stupid talking hand would probably be considered an insult, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Oh, we had hamburger helper occasionally. There were usually only a couple of different ones that my family liked, but yeah, it
No,
was.
and
And
just
then
to
there
make
was
it,
like there was tuna helper as well. There's also tuna helper.
I don't even know what that does, and I'm worried just thinking about it. But I'll
That's
tell you what.
hamburger helper. It's kind of the same thing, but you use tuna for the meat instead. It's just yeah,
I'll
different
tell
thing.
you what, it's not that we were like too good for like that kind of food. Like if you wanted to know what we ate like as a kid, a lot of that Stouffer stuff. Back in the day, like before like you put it in the microwave, there
Oh
was
yeah.
like these kind of TV dinners that you put Swanson and like things like that
Mhm.
that you actually put it in the oven. I want to tell you that those TV dinners in the oven were so much better than all the crap that came later. I feel like in the oven making those meals was pretty decent. I don't know, maybe today I'd eat it and I'd be disappointed, but as a kid, I loved those TV dinners. Loved them.
Yeah, we used to do a lot of TV dinners too.
TV
Yeah.
dinners were the thing.
That was yes, especially as we got older, and then I would be home in the afternoons out, or at early evenings when my mother wasn't able to get home from work early, or had to take my sister or something. It was like, make a TV dinner. Like I'll trust you to cook your TV dinner, and that
Yeah, we
whatever.
had we had TV dinner, and there was also this thing like the slow cooker, because people were working. It wasn't a situation that everybody had people had time to cook all the time or whatever. So there was this slow cooker that you just put some stuff in there.
Oh
I
yeah,
didn't love that crock pot stove slow cooker. Like I kind of always felt like there was something suspicious when like I saw that slow cooker working. But it was okay. I guess it was sort of it was a clever way of making food for a lot of people just in one thing. I respect it, and but I preferred the TV dinners in the oven more. Then later they did like the microwave, and then I think that Swanson kind of went out of style once they went with the microwave. Then it became like a lot of Stofers. Uh, somebody mentioned beef stroganoff. That was like one of the early Stouffer's dishes for the microwave. Beef stroganoff, chicken teriyaki. Uh, they would come in this kind of nylon bag, I think.
Yeah.
Do you remember something like that where they were like in a nylon bag and you like, because today they have like a tray, but I almost feel like back in the day there was no tray. Some weird nylon bag. Am I making any sense or am I
You,
crazy?
you had to like provide your own plate. I might I
I
do
think
remember
so.
some like that. Yeah.
I think you had to provide your own plate. I don't think they gave you a plate. Like you opened a box and in it was like what looks like a weird nylon, and inside there's like, chicken teriyaki or whatever it was. It was very suspicious. I ate it all the time, but when I think about it now, probably today they'd run tests on that, and it probably would be bad to eat that.
Oh, I'm certain. Yes.
They're like I ate like 70% plastic or something, and probably
Oh yeah.
hidden
Well,
underneath.
they say we all have a teaspoon of plastic in our brains now.
I'm sure that's why
Like
people are so dumb, and myself included. That's
from
how we
all
got the Star Wars sequel trilogy. They
that's
all
how
ate
we got it.
plastic.
Yeah. Now we know how we got there. Yeah. Yeah. So all that plastic is stuck in JJ's brain.
Empress and M says corned beef and cabbage in the slow cooker is amazing. I don't think that was ever made for me. There was a lot of chicken stuff, sometimes even like a chicken curry kind of thing, or sometimes just other
Mm.
type of chicken stew. I'll tell you what, and this is a strange thing. This is like a pet peeve of mine. Sometimes, like I like when you think of chicken, I like it when it's more like a cutlet of sorts, like when it's more like it's been sitting in a stew for a long time, not as excited about it.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
just that, but that's just me. I don't want to tell other people how to eat their
Yeah.
chicken.
I much prefer like a fresh grilled, uh, you know, fresh grilled chicken or something than yeah, something that's been sitting and stewing in
Yeah,
your
yeah,
pot for a while with
exactly.
chicken. Yeah.
You
Now I don't mind a nice like some beef that's been slow cooked. It gets real tender and everything like a stew. I don't mind that so much. But yeah, with chicken, it's like it's much better when it's like fresh and still very juicy.
Kivo says, "Hey Kanye, do you like fish dicks?" By the way, I don't know. I've seen interviews. That's from South Park that
Oh
they did.
yes, I saw that one.
Okay, actually, since Kivo, he was also nice with the Rumble rant. I want to give a few anecdotes here. One, I've seen like some cool interviews that they interview Matt Parker and Trey Stone from South Park about that episode, and they kind of I love their thought process and how kind of nonchalant they came up with it. They said that it's not like they thought about it for 70 hours. They were just like quickly just trying to had some ideas and were just bouncing things around, and it kind of made them laugh, and they went with it. And then like ended up being this thing, and they initially didn't even think it was like a good episode or anything, but then everybody was talking about it. An anecdote that I have is that back in the day when I did the stuff that I was like more working on booking talent for stuff and things for events and things like that, I had some contacts sometimes in the more kind of rap or hip hop world and things like that. And I will say that some big names, I mean big name rappers, they were all like glued to the TV watching that Kanye fish dicks thing, and they thought it was hilarious. Like there's one guy I know that's sort of like tied to a really big, name.
Mhm.
I'm hesitant. I don't want to say like the exact person, but I'm saying like think of like a really big name in hip hop. And I knew a guy that was sort of on his crew, and he said that like amongst their crew when that like episode came out, it was like the best thing that ever happened to them. They couldn't believe how funny it was. They were ecstatic. So I don't know why it was funny that like the actual hip hop people, like these moguls, are sitting around watching South Park and having a good laugh at at Kanye's expense. I don't know why I thought that was hysterical. Like I like because I watched it and I thought it was funny, but the fact that they're all sitting there and like high fiving each other is kind of funny.
That's good. Yeah. That was a pretty funny episode. Yeah, that South Park was just on fire back then. Like every week, it was something else. It was incredible. I guess they've kind of messed up their contracts now. They signed a bunch of different stuff with different groups, and now everybody's pissed at him. I'm not sure exactly what's going on
They've
there.
made a big mess. I mean, part of it I don't
Yeah.
think is their fault. They were part of Viacom and Comedy Central, and I guess maybe they had a loophole that they could have signed for somebody else to do, like, there must have been something in the agreement that let them do a few different things. So on one hand, they did their specials with Paramount, but then like the show appears like on HBO Max. Like there's all this weird stuff, and they haven't until this day been able to, like, figure it all out. I'm not sure that it's all them. I think that it's also like the different parties involved in this. But I know one thing: those guys know how to make money. Those guys, they can tell you a million jokes as much as you want, but each of them has like $500 million.
Hmm.
Like they are super rich. It's not like that they're just kind of rich, like they have like a few million in their bank account and they're happy with what they have. I'm talking like they each have like $500 million minimum.
Oh yeah, they're crazy wealthy. Yeah.
They because it was such an offbeat thing and it's so much relying on them along the way, and from the beginning they had such good deals with all the merch, with all the stuff, that it's almost like a George Lucas situation, that they really believed in what they were doing. And I think maybe other with their studios or companies or whatever didn't fully get it, and by the time somebody understood what they had on their hands, those guys had wonderful deals that just continued to give them a ton of money all the time. And they still deliver. I mean, I will tell you that I think that there was, in the early years, there was a certain kind of rebel edge to that show that I don't know if it's the same thing today. They're obviously older and a different mindset. There were things that they did back in the day that I think that they don't do as well now. But even today, after all these years, if I watch an episode, it'll be pretty decent. Do you know this thing that Phantom Outsider is asking? Do you want to look at this?
Uh, info: FEMA drops today on the California wildfires, 13,000 homes, but FEMA got over 270,000 aid forms for that disaster. Okay, interesting. Interesting. No, I had not heard anything about that.
Haven't heard anything either. Don't know anything about it.
Yeah, 270,000 aid forms within 13,000 homes. Yeah, I mean that. This is California, right? It's
Exactly. Probably Gavin Newsom will do a podcast where he talks about it,
well, yeah, he'll talk
all
all.
the fun.
Yeah,
That annoys me so much when I see a stupid podcast. Like, I don't know why. Like, out of all the like politicians doing a podcast, that one annoys me the most. That is like the number one annoying
it's
thing
it's so transparently about him running for
for president,
president in 28, right?
for sure.
It's just so transparent that he's trying to pander. I think that's why it's annoying. That's why it gets under my skin too, because it's just so obvious what he's doing. That and when you see that, when you feel it, it just comes across as so disingenuous, right? And
Right.
that just fits with who he is. He's a fake human being.
He it, it
He is not a real person.
He's not. It kind of reinforces any kind of weird thing that you think about him. It all is like they're showcased. And I will say, if I were in his position and I made such a blunder and I was such a, like, looked so bad, he's not thinking of how do I help the people of my state. There's so many problems here. He's like, how do I put on a cool podcast? It's like, dude, you're not in that position. That's the part that drives me crazy. And the fact that he's doing it and you don't see, like, even people for his own people that like him and voted for him, whoever those strange people are, even they're not saying, hey, you know what, dude, there's a lot of stuff going on there here. Maybe you should get back to work. You know what I mean? Nobody's saying, and he's somehow getting away with it. But I do think that a lot of people see right through him. I don't think that he's very likable. And I you never say never, but it would rather surprise me if he became president. And if he did, that would be awful. That would really, really be bad.
Yeah. Uh, I I can't imagine someone who could be worse. I mean, even someone like we've joked about Jasmine Crockett and AOC like being the ticket in 28.
You hear today like
Not
that
even that would be worse than Gavin Newsom. I mean, just
Crockett today made fun of the Texas governor, Greg Abbott. I guess he's in a wheelchair, and she called him Hot Wheels because
yes,
he's in. That's so
that.
weird. Like that's
Oh.
y-
Well,
you
and then
know
she also insinuated that Ted Cruz needed to be beaten over the head.
I mean,
So violence. That's her answer,
violence
apparently.
and like listen, it's not like Trump hasn't made fun of like people before, or people don't make fun of people. Still, a guy in a wheelchair and a disability, to go after that specifically is kind of, that's usually, there's very few things that you think to yourself, maybe I won't go for that, and going for that is like really, it's especially low. And the thing is, I don't know, maybe she speaks to somebody. Maybe they're thinking that Jasmine Crockett is gonna, like, appeal to maybe some urban people or something like that. But man, I hear her talk, and she just sounds like she's talking a bunch of nonsense. Between her and AOC, really, don't know what to tell you.
Oh yeah, she's an interesting one.
Yes,
Uh,
yes.
I
I haven't
and
noticed
I
her.
think that the really funny part is that the Democratic Party seems to think that she is just the obvious next step for them. Like she's going to be their next superstar, just like AOC, right?
Right.
And I don't get it.
Well, I mean, the thing with Jasmine Crockett, it's very simple to
I mean,
me what
she's a
they're.
black woman.
Yes.
The-
They're thinking she's a black, quote unquote, relatable woman, talking kind of, they're taking a page out of Trump's book, like talking more like just a regular person, and appealing to trying to appeal to a certain, like, more urban crowd or whatever she's trying to do. AOC is trying to be like, the Latina woman, whatever. And, it doesn't fool me. It doesn't fool me. But like I tell you, I never underestimate anybody. You never know what'll happen. Personally, those two ladies seem to me like, super annoying. I don't like that. Like, I don't prefer them myself. And I don't prefer Gavin Newsom either. I honestly, when I look at the Democrats, when I do it objectively, I can't even look at somebody that I think like, wow, that guy is really great. Like, or even a guy that I'm like, okay, that guy is formidable. You know what I mean? I don't know what'll happen in 4 years, but those two ladies and that guy, they don't seem like great to me.
nope.
And you know what? I'm not just saying this because they transferred over. Just so you know that, like, RFK was somebody that I genuinely like. I didn't mind him. I know he's kind of quirky, but I kind of, I was kind of okay with him. Tulsi Gabbard, I actually thought was one of their best people before she, like, both of them moved over. I genuinely thought she was one, not now, like it's trendy to say. I'm telling you that back then I thought to myself, even when I saw her in those debates, like, she managed to, like, mop the full floor with Kamala, if you remember.
Yeah.
So when I saw that, I thought to myself, "Oh, this lady knows what she's doing." Like, I wonder why they're not, like, kind of pushing her. Even then, I thought to myself, "This seems like an actual person that somebody, may actually vote for." You know what I mean? And, like, she was considered, I guess, too moderate or too, I don't know of what for them. If that's not good within their party, that's when they're having problems. When their sort of top people or most marketable people want to go to the other party, you know that you're doing something wrong,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah. I mean, it cracks me up how many people
Uh,
are just fleeing the Democratic Party at
it
this point.
doesn't surprise me at all. Empress and M is saying they're considering Kamala again, followed by AOC. Bernie and Gavin is there. They also have Waltz, which also is saying stuff. I don't think that any of these people, to me, first of all, I mean, let's put it this way: Bernie is super old. He's super old. You can say whatever you want, but I think at this point, it's fair to say that I think he's too old for a run, Bernie, at this point. I think that AOC is going to be one of their top people. It wouldn't surprise me if they try to run with AOC. Gavin, or a Gavin and AOC ticket, wouldn't be impossible. Uh, Kamala, I don't think they're going to try again. I think that Kamala lost once, and whatever she didn't do well then, she's not going to do well again. They've tried things like that with Hillary Clinton or whatever it is. Once you're like, I know I'm going to sound like such a dick, but I don't really know how else to say it. Once people see you kind of lose and see everything that went with that, and like this kind of loser thing, they're not so eager to vote for you again. In Trump's case, he was the president, and the whole way the way that whole thing went down with the 2020 was, if nothing else, didn't seem like it was right. To tell you to what extent, I don't know, but like something didn't seem right there 100%.
Yeah.
and he still had that personality and he had that connection with his voters. It's not the same thing as like a Kamala. Kamala, you don't even see her. Trump, the second he lost, you just saw him every second talking somewhere. You know what I mean? Trump, from the second he lost, he basically launched his campaign, and for 4 years he campaigned for president. And not only that, I'll give him credit one thing. In those 4 years that he campaigned for president, it seemed like he went and made a list of every mistake that he thinks he ever made with any kind of demographic, with anything. And he worked. I mean, he worked to get that. That's why when they gave Kamala the thing, they're like, well, maybe in 90 days she can do this and that. It's like, lady, 90 days, this guy's been working for 4 years.
Yep.
Do you get what I'm saying? Do you know what I'm trying to say?
No, I know exactly. Yeah.
Elizabeth Quinn says, G. Newsom will never get Midwest vote. Was just on the phone discussing this with my girlfriend whose husband from Michigan. Never run a loser. Yeah, I don't know. Yid has said, can you imagine her on a 3+ hour podcast? No. And I've said this before. The easy thing that people like saying is like, oh, Kamala is stupid, that's why she can't be on podcast. But the truth is, and this is my more nuanced answer, I think that she's actually, she is a lawyer and she has the mind of a lawyer. And not even one that's like this kind of like fancy litigator one, even if she was some kind of district, I don't know what she was, but attorney general, district attorney, what was she?
Yeah, it was a district
Something.
attorney,
I don't even know if she was any good, but I'm saying like the thing with lawyers is they have to think about their answers. Like she could have times to draft like motions and responses and sit around and have people working for her, and she could just kind of go and do whatever. I think that what happened on the campaign trail, that she was thrown in the water, and it turns out she's not quick on the draw with answers. You know what I mean? I've said
Yeah.
this before to you. You and I sit here and we stream like at least twice a week. We're even on other streams like a few times. Like this isn't even like the only streams people see us on. We have that kind of I don't know if to say experience or whatever you want to call it, but I think we've logged in enough hours that we're just kind of talking and shooting the breeze. She doesn't have that logging in of hours. She's a lawyer that thinks 70 times before she answers something. I can't say if she's a good lawyer or not, but I'm saying like maybe she's not like as dumb as presented. She's definitely not a person that could put up with this whole off the cuff thing
Yeah.
that you need.
Well, and here's another thing too that I think is part of it is that she is well. Let's see Trump, right? You see Trump, and he's out here. He's signing, these executive orders, and he's got the press in there, and he's just taking questions while he's doing stuff, and he's answering stuff. That's because he's who he is. He's Donald Trump,
Right.
and he's not afraid to be Donald Trump, and he's going to be true to who he is. I think that a lot of politicians, especially those like Kamala Harris, they're chameleons. They're not true to themselves. They can't sit and just talk to you, because if they did, they might actually say something about who they are, and they might accidentally take a stance on something, uh, or we don't. You know what I mean? They're not genuine to themselves and who
No.
they are. So they have to, like you said, kind of like with the lawyer mentality, they have to sit there and they have to make sure that they're saying all of these right things that fit into all of these different boxes, and they're checking off everything that they need to do. They're not actually thinking about just being a genuine open person, which is why I think she was not able to do a bunch of different podcasts, right? Because she can't sit down. She couldn't talk for 3 hours about what she actually thinks, because she has to say all the right things and not go off script and whatever. So it was never going to work for her to try and hop on Joe Rogan's show. It would have been an embarrassment. That, or she would actually have opened up and people would have actually learned something about her, and probably even fewer people would have voted for her. But
I think I like that somebody said, Jimmy Nature said from Rumble, she's not stupid, she's just not a communicator or leader type person. And that's fine. You can get by in life being some kind of like, more gray area person, like a gray attorney. That's fine. People make their livings and they do whatever they do. But what you needed here, you needed a few different things. Biden, it was exposed. The guy was confused and didn't know what was going on. It had been that way, in my opinion, for years, or that's what it all seems like. It's pretty much confirmed, but that's what it seems like. And they needed to bring somebody that had to, like, you know, how sometimes you have like maybe some kind of baseball game or one of those kind of like you see in the movies, or some kind of basketball game where the star is injured, and suddenly they bring somebody off from the bench, and that guy from the bench gives the best game of his life, leads the team to victory, and everybody's like, that's the new star. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That would have been the only case scenario that this woman could have, like, been any kind of contender, any kind of real factor here, versus a guy that was already president, that people knew him, was already a schmoozer and a celebrity, and had run a campaign for 4 years, correcting all of his past mistakes and doing it pretty well. You had to be like the best, and she wasn't the best.
Nope.
Like she's the opposite scenario, that you bring off the bench the player, and because, like, they honestly, their star player wasn't much of a star at that point, but even their, like, backup guy from the person from the bench, also, like, an even probably, like, even bigger flop.
Yep. Yeah. So many things wrong with that ticket and everything that happened this last time around. But even then, I genuinely think that Trump was set up to win this last time.
D-Bud Martin says she's not a
Yeah.
lawyer. She got her job as DA because she was Willie Brown's friend. No other reason.
Yeah. There have definitely been credible allegations of her getting a number of jobs because she was useful in things outside of her
like
particular
in
career. Yeah.
extracurricular
Yes.
activities.
There have been some credible accusations of that.
You know, I think that there's certain things that, like, can't be ignored. I mean, some of it must, there must be. It seems like when there's smoke, there's fire situation.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I mean, I don't know how far you could go. Uh, being, although who knows? Maybe she is, like, it's a funny story that she was, like, really dumb all along, and just people kept promoting her. But at the end, listen, she must have passed the bar, and she was, like, a lawyer somewhere. You could be a lawyer and just work, like, on contracts or do something. I don't know what. It's not. I don't know necessarily that she's. It's easy to say that she's just super dumb, but I think that she's just not a good public speaker. She doesn't have that kind of, like, public figure persona, and certainly not for a presidential candidate. Some people just don't have the qualities. And in our day and age, you need a lot of qualities. Back, I don't know. It was like which Roosevelt, like, in a wheelchair? Was it like Teddy? Which one was like
FDR.
FDR? So
Yeah.
in any case, like, you had him in a wheelchair. Back in the day, a guy could be in a wheelchair. You take a few pictures of him, you put it in the paper, and nobody cares. But these days it's hard. Like, you can't just take a picture once a year of a candidate and say he's running for president, and just print some newspapers that go out to different places. It doesn't work that way anymore. You need to be off the cuff. You need to be able to talk to anybody about anything. You need to be prepared to schmooze, to answer any question, and to do it all, like, without like, batting an eye or whatever it is. And again, you can like Trump or you can not like him, but that's one thing that for sure he knows how to do. That he
Yeah.
can do in his sleep. You wake him up and he just, like, schmoozes you in 2 seconds. That's
Yeah.
his, like, specialty.
Yeah. And FDR, like, like him or not, like his policies or not, yes, he was disabled. He had some major issues. He contracted polio
Oh, yeah, like,
when he was 30 something.
I'm kind
And
of embarrassed that I confused him with Teddy, but
yeah, it's all right. Yeah, it's okay.
I'll forgive myself.
But yeah, the thing was, he was also an incredible public speaker. You can go back and listen to his speeches today, and some of them are absolutely spellbinding. He was an incredible public speaker, and most of the people who actually heard him speak were hearing it over radio. They didn't see him being frail. They didn't see him in a wheelchair or anything at the time. His ability to speak publicly and really inspire people was incredible.
So he was actually better than her. I agree. I disrespected FDR. I disrespected him.
Well, yeah, he had some policies and stuff. You don't really want to get deep into it that weren't so great for the country, but
Probably,
you know,
probably.
yeah,
All I'm saying is, listen, I'm not even talking about policies now. I'm just talking in general. I guess what I'm trying to say is that maybe during that time, if he looked decent in a picture that they just like do from the waist up, and he sounds good in speeches, and the articles look good, maybe that was enough for that time. In our day and age, you need to be that person that anybody just tackles you from anywhere and asks you some random question, and you got to be able to answer it. Some of like Trump's answers is like, "That's a stupid question. It's huge. This is dumb. You're not thinking much, are you? You don't have a brain." Whatever it is he says, even it's like the shittiest thing that he has to say. At least he says something. You know what I mean? Like he says it in a second. In 1 second, he'll have an answer for you. Even if that answer is like to completely take a dump on what you just said, he will do that in a second.
yeah,
Like, do you get what I'm saying? There's no
yeah,
like dead air. There's no like him
yeah.
like thinking for 5 hours what he's gonna say. He's already talking. He's just unloading
Yep.
whatever he wants. It could be deflecting. It could be like flexing muscles. It could be shutting somebody down. He doesn't care. Like you just one of those things will happen. There's always just activity over and over again. And sometimes you may like what he does, and sometimes what he doesn't. But at least he seems like he's kind of like alert.
Alert.
He is alert. I mean,
Yeah.
she seemed like she was all over the place. She couldn't answer one thing normal. She like how much nonsense? Because I think that the lawyer in her is trying to draft like an answer. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Like
Right.
she was trying to draft an answer, and we were witnessing her trying to draft an answer, but that's not what was necessary.
Oh, and then listening to her like sort of quote unquote off the cuff stories that she would tell us. Oh, it's
My
just
grandmother told me I don't have a coconut. Ha ha ha. Or something like that. Like
oh, she's what was the she told some story about trying to get them to change the color of the lids for the cups at Starbucks because the white lids get lipstick on them. Whatever. It was just it was so bad. So bad.
yeah, no, it was a lot of dumb stuff. But yeah, how did we even get here? We were
I don't
talking
know.
about
We've been all
Trump.
over the place.
We've
So
been Trump
we were
versus
talking about Trump and voter fraud, and then yeah, we started talking about some
it's
other
okay.
stuff.
People are already used
We're
to it.
talking to the chat. We're rolling with it. So yeah, it's
You
good.
know
All
what?
good.
People that listen to the Night Owl know that this is like just a cool conversation that we're hanging out. Sometimes we do kind of go off into different areas and just kind of shoot the breeze. Now let's go back to like what it's always good to see what topics we wanted to talk about. So before we go into Elon Musk versus Ubisoft, because there were some interesting things today, uh, just in general, we still had all those kind of Teslas. You have those people keying and like trying to burn them, and I think they found some bombs somewhere. Like this is just insane. Were
Uh,
there any more developments with this? I
yeah.
feel
Oh,
like
it's
I
just gone. It's gone completely off the rails with these people going out there, and honestly, it's rather hilarious. Uh, because the truth is that if you look back, the who most likely has Teslas. Well, it's going to be people who are environmentally conscious, people who have a little wealthier. Uh, in you know the percentages here, we're talking about a significantly wide margin of the owners of Teslas are going to be Democrats, right? And so you have these nuts out there vandalizing these cars, and a lot of them they're vandalizing the cars of people who were Democrats, or maybe now they're former Democrats. I don't know. Maybe they've decided that they don't want anything to do with these psychos. There was, I was seeing a story. There was one that happened in Wichita, Kansas, where some asshole came up and keyed up the side of essentially a brand new Tesla that was owned by a disabled woman.
I saw that. I saw that. That was so stupid, and I don't get like who are you? What do you think? Who are you owning by like ruining her car? You're
Yeah,
not.
well, in her the news piece that they did with the local Wichita news, they were talking to her, and she's like, "I don't know who they think they're hurting. They're not hurting Elon Musk." Yeah,
Yeah,
right? He's not gonna pay to fix my car. I'm gonna be the one that has to pay for
I
this.
actually think that Elon Musk had an opportunity here. If I was Elon Musk when I saw that he commented to somebody sharing that video,
Mhm.
I would have, like, called her and said, like, "Hey, like, I'll fix it here." Maybe he doesn't wanna create a precedent that everybody now gets it keyed and he fixes it, but I feel like, if I were him, a disabled woman, like, I would go out of my way and just be like, "You know what? Let me help you." It would have been a good opportunity for him, I think, but maybe he has another way of seeing things.
You know what? I honestly think that if he were gonna do something like that, he would do it out of the public eye.
You're probably
He
right.
he would
Maybe he
probably
still will.
reach out directly to her, or, call the people at Tesla, be like, "Identify this car for me," because Tesla basically has a lot of, stuff on their side, server side, that they have for the different cars, because 'cause they're able to, like, look at logs for the cars and stuff if they get in an accident and all sorts of stuff. They can't access everything in the car, but, they can connect to a lot of it. And he could probably call up the people at Tesla and be like, "Hey, identify this lady's car, and when it comes in for repairs or whatever, like, give it to her for free." Something like that, right? Um, he certainly doesn't want to make that public. I think that, he's going to be paying for everyone's vandalized Teslas. I don't think he wants to do that, because then they really will start vandalizing more Teslas, right? Because then, if they know that it's going to be coming out of his pocket to fix them, it's even worse. But yeah, there's been so much wild stuff happening. So uh, the administration has now said, basically, they are now going to, any of these particular incidents, especially the fire bombings, the shootings, stuff like that. These are all now going to be considered domestic terrorism, and they're putting together a team to start investigating some of these acts. Destroying the superchargers, shooting at stores. They found some. It was in
Bombs.
Austin, Texas, where they
In
found some
Texas, they found
incendiary
bombs, yeah.
devices. Yeah, found some incendiary devices out there. And the thing is, like, that Elon doesn't own that dealership. He doesn't own those cars. Those belong to an independent owner of that dealership. You are destroying private property of somebody who has never met Elon Musk, much less ever gotten any of his money. So it's kind of ridiculous, back in Las Vegas, March 18th, right? We had, people shooting cars up at a repair shop, and ended up setting a couple of them on fire with Molotov cocktails. And we had a South Carolina. There's a 24-year-old man threw some, Molotov cocktails at charging stations in North Charleston. It was in Portland, Oregon on March 6th. Excuse me. There were a bunch of gunshots that were fired at a Tesla showroom. Again, these are not things that are that are owned by Elon Musk. This isn't hurting him in any way. You're just hurting private businesses. You're hurting individuals who are selling these cars. And it's, of course, also just hilarious that these same people are the ones that are arguing, save the planet, stop oil, all this stuff. And then they're going out and they're burning electric cars. I mean, it's just so ridiculous. They don't see the logical conflict here. They don't understand how very strange it is that they're out here. I mean, that's obviously, I mean, these are wild, leftist activists. They're completely unhinged. Um, we saw there was some other, there's some other attacks, people defacing vehicles, uh, burning more charging stations. There were some in Boston, I guess, that were burned. I mean, it just keeps going on, and Tesla owners are now saying they feel targeted. Actually, I know a couple of Tesla owners. There's not a lot of them around in my area, but I do know, 3 or 4 different Tesla owners. All but one of them pretty committed Democrats, right? And you're going to come along and you're going to
Yeah, they used to love
vandalize
him.
their cars.
They used to love Elon Musk. Elon Musk was like their darling. They loved him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And now they're getting yelled at. I saw a video earlier today. Uh someone stopped on a highway in front of somebody's Cybertruck so they could get out and film them while they flipped them off. It was like, what? just because they're driving a car doesn't mean that they're that they're the same as Elon Musk. What are you getting out of this? It's so bizarre. And then of course there's always these self-owns of these people who are talking about like, we're gonna tank Tesla stock, woo! And then don't think about the fact that there's a whole bunch of Tesla stock in their 401ks and, and all this other stuff. So they're actually like hurting themselves by tanking Tesla's stock.
I mean, look at this. Let me see if I can share this. Hopefully it won't do something bad, but let me try to share this. You must have
Okay.
seen this before, but this is like during the years where Elon Musk was like a darling, you know what I mean? It's the Big Bang Theory, very Hollywoody, with all the snooty people. They invite him to do like a sort of extended cameo. Look at how like everybody loves
Well, you
him.
got to put it on the presentation mode.
Oh, I didn't do
Oh, yeah.
that? Okay. Like, and this isn't a million years ago, you know what I mean? This is like, this is what people used to think. Let's
Yeah.
see what happens here.
You gotta be kidding me.
Sorry?
You're Elon Musk.
I am?
What are you doing here?
I'm washing dishes. Well, I was on the turkey line, but I got demoted for being too generous with the gravy.
Oh man, what an honor to meet you. I'm such a fan of Tesla and SpaceX, all your companies. Howard Wolowitz, Caltech.
Nice to meet you, Howard. It feels great to come down here and help the less fortunate, huh?
Oh yeah. Nothing better than helping people. Which is something I realized when I was viewing Earth from the deck of the International Space Station, where I spent 2 months as a payload specialist, a job I was qualified for because I'm an MIT trained engineer.
And I thought I ladled the gravy on thick.
Sorry, it's just you're you. I really want you to adopt me.
Well, you're here on Thanksgiving, so you're probably a good person.
Oh, I made my wife come down too.
You think you might ever get back out to space?
Is that a job offer? Because I really want to go to Mars. Assuming I can bring my wife. She hardly takes up any room. She's basically a carry-on.
Well, we're not quite there yet, but we're always looking for engineers. So let me give you my email. We can stay in touch.
Thank you.
Oh, look. Someone hardly touched their pumpkin pie. Want to share it with me?
A partially eaten piece of pumpkin pie from a homeless shelter with Elon Musk? You bet I do!
I guess what I'm saying is, like, notice how public perception changes. You know what I mean? Like, they absolutely loved him
absolutely.
here.
Yeah. And there were constant articles about, oh, Elon, he's the real life Tony Stark. And they would have him in these shows. They had him in the Iron Man.
Iron Man, yeah.
Was
Let's
it the
see.
second Iron Man movie, or I can't remember which one it was.
I think it was the second one. Yeah.
And he was all over the place. Yeah, everyone just loved him. And of course, everyone was buying these Teslas. Someone mentioned in the Rumble chat about how it was never about saving the environment. It was it was just about pushing an agenda. Yeah, it was about that and about clout, right? It was about being seen as oh, look, I have a Tesla, right? It actually never really
Right.
had anything to do with actually saving the environment. Just giving the impression. It was just virtue signaling all the way, right?
So this one is the Iron Man. it's just kind of strange to think how much he was embraced and how much he's hated now. Now, with all that being said, I've said before, it's not that I think he's perfect. It's a guy with a lot of money
No,
and a
of
lot of power, and I'm not saying
course.
that he's perfect. Even you could be against him. I mean, even if they would have wanted like to boycott his company, they're allowed to do that. But that's the thing what we were talking about. It's not the same as the Bud Light thing. And the Bud Light thing, they said, "We'll boycott it," and then nobody bought Bud Light and they lost money. That's a smart peaceful protest. That is the real smart and peaceful protest. You're
Yeah,
not buying it. Not buying it. They can decide if they want to change their brand or not in a way
yeah.
that would appeal to you.
Don't buy Teslas. Hell, go out if you don't want your Tesla anymore, go out and sell it. Go buy an electric Kia or
Right.
whatever, right? All of that's completely legit. If in boycott's completely legit.
Totally
It's
legit.
hilarious that people like I mean, if you remember, the left has lost their minds. These progressives lost their minds over those boycotts of like Bud Light, right? Just
Right.
lost their minds. And then there's this. They're like, no, totally okay. It's justifiable that they're out setting people's private property on fire. Totally legit. It's
Yeah.
it's
It's
wild.
uh, it's really kind of annoying, the whole thing. I personally I think that it is a democracy and you should be able to say your piece, and there is freedom of speech, and also even like we said, you don't want to buy the Teslas, don't buy them. You could do that kind of boycott. Sometimes those boycotts can work, but they went very quickly from either trying to not buy them to just like, let's blow up,
Yeah.
dealerships and
Yeah.
stuff. That is a whole other level of escalation.
Yeah.
That's not just
Freedom
some.
freedom of speech does not involve Molotov cocktails.
Right, and, like,
That's a
setting what
step too
bombs to,
far.
like, explode and stuff that people just can get, that could hurt real people, you know what I mean? This is just insanity. So, yeah, nobody is above criticism, there are certain
No.
things with, Trump and Elon, I don't think that they're beyond criticism, and I think that if you have even different political views than them, even if you are somebody from another side of the spectrum or you have a different worldview, there's still a way to approach this that's not like this.
Yeah.
Having a conversation, even with somebody that you don't agree with, having people with different opinions, it's not always bad. I mean, of course, extremism and people that are like, certain things that we see, that's becomes more dangerous. But generally, it's good if there was a conversation between people.
Indeed. Yeah. I that's something that's been badly missing from our from our discourse in public over the last 15 years, 20 years is there's been this very consistent push towards, well, it's either you or you're with me or against me kind of thing. You're either on the team or you're not on the team. And it this constant polarization has just driven to a point that, if you go back to even the 1990s, nothing was perfect in the 1990s, but you had people on different sides of the aisle that could sit down, they could talk through an idea, they could think about things. And then in the early 2000s, we started to get a lot of these like rules for radicals stuff. You saw a lot of that coming in with the Obama administration, some before that, where it's now, well, we don't have conversations with our enemy. All we can do is demonize them, right? Uh,
Right.
if you have a conversation with them, that's legitimizing their viewpoint. So we saw this just greater and greater push towards polarizing all the conversations, and it's completely degenerated now to where it's just like, well, we've seen in numerous different contexts, everything is racist, right? And it's just if someone wants to try and construe something as racist, then they're gonna do that. And then if anybody thinks that something is racist, then it absolutely is, right? And so it's gotten so wildly out of hand. It's insane.
Yeah, I agree. And well, we'll see. Like you said before, they're going to do now treat this as acts of terror, and they're going to work harder to capture people that are doing this. And generally speaking, I think that this should be taken very seriously, because today it's like a Tesla and this dealership, but in general, thinking that people should go and blow up things they don't like, that's not a good thing. That is just not a good thing.
Yeah, today it's burning empty cars at a dealership and keying up somebody's car. Tomorrow it's somebody getting run over or being
Right.
forced off a road and causing an accident that kills somebody, or you know uh, setting off a firebomb at a dealership and somebody does get killed. Right? I mean, it's just going to keep
Right, right. I
if
mean,
they don't stop this, it's just going to continue to escalate. That, and again, this is not hurting Elon Musk in any way. You know what? Yes, the Tesla stock is going down. He's still got
the
multiple billions of dollars.
he has like hundreds of millions of dollars. This is not going to ruin it. And in any case, he's had ups and downs with his company. Somehow,
Yeah,
like what they make is has enough of a market and sort of stands out enough that on a business level they're going to do fine. Maybe they're hoping that somehow he'll be forced to resign from Tesla. They're thinking that something they'll get him to do. But for now, he doesn't seem to be caving to anything. He's just doing whatever.
yeah. Well, the conversation, I know this is not one of the things we were talking about, but we can kind of briefly touch on it. The big conversation in the last couple of days has been all about the Signal chat. Have you been keeping up with this one?
Oh yes,
Right?
yes. I've seen the Signal chat.
It is so ridiculous, the stuff they're reporting about this Signal chat, that somehow, some left-leaning journalists got included in this chat, and they're
I
saying that they were exposing state secrets and stuff in this chat.
I mean, I'll tell you this. Let's, if I'm being honest, this whole thing, I don't know how it happened. It's not a good look. Like, it's not great. I don't, on the plus side, if you actually listen to whatever those messages say, there's nothing really bad that's said there. It just sounds like a group of people that, are taking their job seriously and doing their job, which that's actually encouraging. But on the downside, uh, I don't know how this doesn't it seem strange to you that out of all people, this guy would be on this Signal thing? It just the whole thing is so odd.
Yeah, it's very strange, and I've read a couple of different stories from a few different sides, and I've actually seen a few different commentators talking about this on X, and I am I lean towards what I've read from a few different people, basically saying this is weird. We don't, how could this guy get out of this chat, whatever. But the reality is that what was being said in the chat were not state secrets. Nobody was sharing battle plans or anything like that in this chat. They essentially they mentioned that there was some attack that was going to move forward, some strike that was going to move forward in Yemen, and the reporter that saw it was able to learn about it a couple of hours before everyone else did. That was it. Like, there was absolutely nothing in this that was like top secret. There were some conversations in there that probably should have remained private. Some people getting upset, uh, with what was being said, about different opponents, other people, in the body politic right now, yeah, that were perhaps not the kindest comments and stuff. But again, nothing classified was leaked. They're really trying to make a mountain out of a molehill on this one, because the truth is that I think what's going on is that the Democrats really need a win right now. Uh, it's been
I
it's
mean,
been a
this
couple of
is as
months.
close as they're gonna get, I guess.
Yeah,
I think that either this is a weird hacking thing and that's how that like guy ended up on their Signal, or somebody made a mistake. And it's not a good mistake to make. I mean, if possible, it's better not to make it. I agree with you that from what I saw, the silver lining is it doesn't seem like the end of the world, anything that was said there. It doesn't seem, it seems like a group of people that are doing their job. It actually, it didn't look bad, but if they can preferably not include reporters on their group chat,
yes,
that would be good.
yeah. It's just silly. Like I think the Democrats, the progressives, they really need a win of some kind, and so they're hoping to turn this into some sort of Watergate situation that forces people to resign. It's not going to work. This story will be gone in another week. they're going to keep trying to dredge it up. Oh, well, why didn't he hold, Hegseth? Why didn't he fire him? Whatever. They're just trying to get a win. They're just trying desperately to
It's
try
not
and
gonna work. Yeah, I
separate
agree with you.
from some of his supporters, for some of the people that he's put in place, so they can say, yeah, look, we stood up to resist, we stood up. It's ridiculous. It's all going to be gone in another week or two.
I tend to agree with you. They're just gonna sweep it under the carpet. They don't care. That's
Yep.
what I think. I
Say,
mean,
you know what? This was a mistake. It shouldn't have happened. We should have been using more classified channels. Don't know how this guy got in the group chat. Nothing of any real security,
what I would like
secrecy
if
was
I was
leaked. So
the whatever Levitt, whatever, I'd just say that it's strange that he would end up on such a thing, but obviously shouldn't be there. You meaning kind of almost thinking that how did he get on that thing? So I would at least mention that it's a bit odd the circumstances in which that guy appeared, but in any case, regardless, nothing out of the ordinary was said here, and this is making like a mountain out of a molehill or whatever it is.
yep.
But I do think they should be more careful in the future. That's
Oh,
regardless. Like,
absolutely.
they
Yeah.
can't. It worked out okay this time, but really, I don't. Whether it's a cybersecurity issue or somebody genuinely made a mistake on their end. They really have to, make sure, because somebody added this guy. Why would they add him? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So that came down to who was it?
Michael something, Michael
Mike
Waltz.
Waltz. Yeah, Mike Waltz, who did come out and basically say, or in fact, I think maybe I can find the quote here real quick. He just said, "Yeah, I take full responsibility. I built the group. My job is to make sure everything's coordinated." So he said, I'm the one who ended up accidentally putting this guy in this group where he shouldn't have belonged there. So, and the nice thing, Trump came out and defended him. Right? He didn't come out and throw him under the bus. Under the bus. He didn't come and throw him under the bus. He says, I know, I don't think he needs to apologize. It's a glitch. It was a mistake. I think he was doing the best he could. And so it was a mistake. Somebody put the wrong name in on the list. Somebody got added that shouldn't have, and they're going to be more careful about that in the future, right? Nobody was harmed. No state secrets were released. Some people look a little bit dumb for a minute, and we move past it, right? This is not Watergate.
No, it doesn't feel like Watergate.
I think this is as far as it goes.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I think that it's probably not going to go. You like you said, for a week they'll continue to whine about it, then they'll find something else to whine about. I feel like by tomorrow it's I feel like nobody cares.
Yeah, another couple of days, it's just going to be forgotten about.
Yeah.
All right. So what was the next thing we're talking about? Elon.
Versus Ubisoft. Did you see
Ubisoft,
his responses today?
Yeah, the whole you're talking about the whole text chain with Grums, right?
Yes, that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, and it had to do with Hassan.
Right. So that was
God, I hate that guy.
all very interesting.
I cannot stand Hassan.
No, I don't. I'm surprised that he has a following, because I don't know a person that likes to watch him.
No. I don't know anybody that watches.
I assume that somebody does because he has followers, but really I don't know,
Maybe it's just a bunch of bots. Who knows? No idea. But yeah, quite the exchange today. Do you want me to share that? I've got it pulled up here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure.
So it kind of started with Grums, talking a bit about how Ubisoft was getting Assassin's Creed promoted by having it in Hassan's shows, having him promote it, and buy it here, get it now. I'm playing Assassin's Creed, check it out. But of course, we know that this has not been a huge, just amazing win for Ubisoft on this game. It's gotten a lot of bad publicity. It's gotten some good publicity. There's been some people who've been excited about it, but Grum's saying you can tell a lot about Ubisoft with how much money they're throwing at a platforming streamer. Um, and I completely agree with Grum's sentiment.
I agree with him too.
He has allowed people with those views and has actually promoted and shown propaganda on his channel, and he's
Yes.
still allowed on Twitch. He's still allowed on these platforms. It's amazing. I mean, literally showing propaganda videos for these organizations
Yeah,
on his
I
channels, and they still
100%.
let him stream. It's madness. But yeah, okay, so he's out here promoting promoting this game. So Elon Musk hops in. Hassan is a fraud. Well, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. And then to say he's a sellout would be more accurate. Objectively, he's promoting a terrible game just for the money. Now, I don't know about that. I don't know if objectively this game is terrible. I've seen a number of different people who've been playing it. Some people who are very critical of the game, from the beginning, and I've heard from them essentially saying that it's bad, but maybe it's not that bad. It definitely has some issues. Is it the worst thing that's ever been made? No, it's not. Uh, it's it definitely still has some glitches. Maybe we'll have a moment to watch a video of some of the glitches if you haven't seen that yet. But it definitely has some issues. But I wouldn't say it's objectively a terrible game. It's from what I can see, from what I've read, it's sort of objectively a middling game. It's not great. Uh, it's not the worst thing ever though. Um, but yeah, he goes on, and then the Assassin's Creed, the legit Assassin's Creed account comes out and then replies to Elon here saying, "Is that what the guy playing your Path of Exile 2 account told you?" Ouch. Oh, I'm gonna have to give it to the Assassin's Creed people on this one. That's a pretty good burn. So it's um, so yeah, I mean, he's pretty credibly been accused of having people create his characters and play his characters to level them up for him so he can play at these higher levels. It's so I have to give it to whoever was running the Assassin's Creed account. That's a pretty solid burn.
That was a pretty solid burn. At the same time, though, I have to say, it's not like anybody pays Elon Musk money. He's just playing their game, however he's doing it.
Yeah, yeah. So there was another one from this is also in this sort of the same chain here. Grums was talking about how Assassin's Creed Shadows is not the hit that Ubisoft needed. And then for some reason, the Assassin's Creed people replied, "Our game is out." What does that mean?
I don't
I
even
think the only
understand.
thing that they're trying to say is that Grums has a game that he's been working on for some time. Right? I think it's called Ember. Yeah, that obviously
Whoever
hasn't seen
wrote on
release
this
yet.
thing, whoever's running Assassin's Creed's like social media, if nothing else, at least is like knowledgeable and answered. I don't like Assassin's Creed what they've done, and like I'm not rooting for Ubisoft here. But just objectively speaking, whoever's running that Assassin's Creed account, these were some great answers. Have to say.
Oh, it's just it's pretty funny. Yeah. I don't know. Have you were there some other replies from Elon Musk that you were thinking of that you saw
Let me
somewhere, or
see. Let me
just that
see.
conversation? Because
There was
while
the one that he's talking about how Hassan blocked him. Did you see that one?
no, I missed that one. If you want to
There
share
was
that,
something really interesting about that. Let me see for a second if I can find it.
all right, here's the Grok thing here. Uh, Hassan blocked Elon after challenging him to fight me in Elden Ring. Calls Hassan a chicken shit
Yeah.
retard. Sorry, Sean. Never deleting this app. So Hassan blocks him. Hassan, if Elon isn't chicken shit, sorry, Sean, he'll come on the stream. We all know he won't. He ducked Mark Zuckerberg. He ran away from Jon Stewart. And now he's ducking a Twitch streamer. There's absolutely no reason that Elon would agree to come on Hassan's show. That's stupid. Hell, if I had the chance, if I were invited, I would not come on Hassan's show. He's a joke. I have no interest whatsoever, and neither should Elon. So what does he have to prove to this, dickweed? Hassan.
The fact that Elon Musk said Hassan is such a chicken shitter, or that he blocked me, that is really, really funny. This was just like a wacky day online, really.
Yeah, I blocked you, Elon Musk, because you bought this website and forced everyone to see your dumbass tweets 7,000 times a day. Why do you think I'm afraid of you? Come on the stream. You're such a big man. But please. It's so ridiculous, right? I mean, like you said, like there's things that people really love Elon Musk for, and then there's some other times you're just like, dude, why are you engaging in this, right? Like you don't have to engage with him. You can literally just call him a chicken shit. That's what you want to do, and then just walk away. You don't have to keep engaging with Hassan. He is exactly what you said he is. It's ridiculous.
Right.
But that's Elon, he definitely has an ego. That's definitely something he deals with on a regular basis, and he has to feel like he has to prove something to people. I don't know, but yeah. What do you think, Bryce?
I think that at the end of the day, I don't like Hassan. I don't prefer his stuff. I don't think that anybody, he deserves too much attention from anybody. And the fact that Ubisoft thought it was a good idea to pay him and make him like anything related to this game is kind of dumb. On the one hand, it's dumb. On the other hand, I understand why they gave it to him, because people on the more, you want to call it Gamergate side or whatever it is, they're not gonna buy this crap. This Hassan guy could only sell it to his, like, whoever his audience is. He could try to sell it there, and maybe they're just activist and dumb enough that some of them will play it. Well, what I've noticed is that usually when they go for that audience, whether it's gaming or movies or anything, that audience doesn't spend money. So
yeah,
you're basically going to like a very low level audience and trying to get them to pay for your thing, when historically they haven't been like steady customers, whereas the exact people that you're kind of chasing away, they've historically been the better customers. That's my opinion, at least. So
yeah,
I mean, sorry, go on.
No, go. I was just gonna say, like, I could share some other stuff about what's been going on with Assassin's Creed Shadows.
Cool. I'll just tell you what I think quickly. I just want to say that, how there's country music?
Yep.
Country music, one of the things that I've noticed that I really have always liked about their artist, and then that whole industry, whatever they have, you know what I like? The sort of fan loyalty. A lot of times there's like an artist that they'll like. They will go, when I say loyalty, like there'll be shows, they'll go see the shows. There's CDs, they're going to buy them. There's merch, they're going to buy it. They're going to go, they really like are all in, and they're the kind of customers that you want. You know what I mean? Like they're willing to like really, vote with their wallet. Yeah, that they really like that thing in country. At least I feel that that's the way it is. To tell you, I don't hang around in that scene, and to tell you that I know everything, it just feels like there's always like, a steady, there's the steady crowd, the kind of crowd you want. If you're selling something, that's a good crowd.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, whereas if you go with a lot of more, like, hard left and hard whatever, they're a lot of times these are, like, not as warm people. They're kind of snooty. They don't wanna go to shows. They don't wanna buy anything. They don't care, you know what I mean? Y I don't know. I guess I'm saying is that when you have a loyal fan base, that's more, like, warm, rather versus than, like, some kind of following that's kind of cold, which maybe I'm wrong, but I consider Hassan and his followers, like, a more cold situation. I don't think that translates into money.
No. So as far as Assassin's Creed Shadows goes, popularity wise, sales wise, we don't actually know the sales numbers yet. The best thing that we have, is some other measures like Steam DB. So, I can, share. This is just a comparison of some other, games in similar, excitement for the games, similar genres. Obviously, there's multiple different games in here from Assassin's Creed. So, obviously we have Veilguard, which is a very recent, just massive failure. Well, they had an all-time peak of 89,000 concurrent players on Steam DB. Right now, Assassin's Creed Shadows has an all-time peak of 64,000, which not great, right? But if you compare it to, the last few titles here, Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Assassin's Creed Valhalla, actually doing all right, you know, doing better than Valhalla did, significantly. And of course, the last one here is Star Wars Outlaws. So it's as far as Ubisoft is concerned, uh, Assassin's Creed Shadows is selling like hotcakes compared to the Star
Yeah,
Wars
but
Outlaws
the
game.
real question is what's gonna happen over the next few days. I think that,
Sure.
like, also, from what I understand, they gave a lot of things where, like, you're getting to play the game, but you're not necessarily paying for the game. There's,
Could be, yeah.
Ubisoft Plus or whatever they're going with. They've done a lot of maneuvers to really, like, strengthen those numbers. It's kind of like, I think it was Lady Gaga, I don't know if it was her. Once there was something that, like, people were complaining, people that keep score or, like, these kind of Billboard charts or whatever, because she released a track and she made it that if you were a customer of Verizon or something, then you get her song or something along those lines. So then if she set up something that she's giving it away to all these people that already have something, are they really buying your track? Like, are they really
Yeah,
purchasing something of yours? You just somehow packaged your thing into something, and I guess what I'm saying is that at the end, the numbers seemed higher than they were. Like, they're like, "Oh, she had, like, 500,000 streams this week," but really it wasn't 500,000, if you understand what I'm trying to say.
sure. Yeah.
So it's the same, I think, with, like, Assassin's Creed Shadows. They've, like, given so many options for people to somehow this is my impression, I could be completely wrong, you can correct me. They've given options for people that maybe weren't excited in playing, maybe are not even paying for it, just to make these numbers go up.
Yeah, and as Jimmy Nature mentioned in our Rumble chat, they were giving away a whole bunch of keys for free on various different social media platforms too. So obviously that's going to help their numbers. Yeah, if there's subscription, services that are getting it out there for them, that's going to help their numbers. Again, as far as Assassin's Creed games go, and from some of the metrics that we have available right now, uh, in some ways, it looks like it's doing all right. As I was saying earlier, there's been a number of reviewers that I've watched. People, some that were excited for the game, some that were fairly critical of the game, all kind of saying that it's okay. As far as it's a serviceable, if not decent, Assassin's Creed game. Does that mean it's a masterpiece? No. A lot of the Assassin's Creed games have kind of been ass for a while. So it's not, amazing. But the real question, the real thing that we want to know is the units sold. And, we've seen pictures. Now, these are just anecdotal, right? But we've seen pictures of these games just piled up in like games, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
physical copies of the game just piled up in GameStops and stuff like that. So, yeah, I don't think that this is going to sell in a way that's going to be able to save Ubisoft from its eventual just collapse. Uh, even if it's a decent game, I just don't see it selling in the numbers that they would need to make this really work. And obviously, there's also been some rumors about how much this game actually cost. If you look, I mentioned here the other day we were showing the credits.
Discounts,
The credits are 2 hours long.
The
There's
credits are 2 hours long. Yeah,
It's like 3,000 people mentioned in the credits. So some people, there's been some rumors that are saying that this game may have cost in excess of $500 million, maybe
I would
even
believe
more.
it. I would believe it. Yeah, these games are very expensive. This is like a big deal to make a game like this. $500 million. I could totally believe it.
Yeah, some
And
people are saying maybe even as much as 800 million
wow,
to make this game. That it's been that much of just a mess that they've had to bring in so many different people to do so many different things and farm work out because the team at Ubisoft is just paralyzed. They're so incompetent because there's so many activists there. They're not actually getting any work done. So they've had to farm stuff out left and right, and they've had to bring people in order to get things. Deadman mentions there were credits in there for the beta testers. That's part of the reason that it was as long as it was. But there's there's been some wild rumors that have been coming out about what the actual budget for this game was. But did you have anything else to say about Assassin's Creed or?
I just wanted to say that, I don't do much gaming these days. I'm like a broken record. I played in the past year only like Black Myth Wukong, and aside from that, I haven't really had time or really not focused on that. But from what I can tell with Assassin's Creed, had they just left out that whole Yasuke thing and focused on something that was just like honoring Japanese culture, if they actually did that, this game probably would have been doing much better. Whatever it's doing now, where you think it's good or not, I think that it would have been doing much better.
Yeah, and from what I understand, like I said, I've seen a few different reviews, some different people were playing through it, and apparently you play as Yasuke at the very start of the game, and then and this is very likely some of the changes that they made to minimize his role in the game. You don't play as him again for like 11 hours of the game. Like his role is significantly minimized, but just for fun here, we don't have to play the whole thing. This has not been the perfect release. We got a lot of interesting videos that came out of Star Wars Outlaws of some of the game glitches.
The glitches, yeah.
This is a compilation that's done by GameSprout. That's pretty amusing.
What was that?
Oh, you'll see it again here in a minute.
Wow! Oh my God! Oh, it's a form of order. Oh man!
Just in time. The miso shiru is almost ready. Sit.
Is that the gender ambiguous somebody?
Sorry, I need this.
Steals this lady's boat.
Oh shit!
Yeah, we did.
Oh yeah, this was silly. Nice.
It's strange that they would just release a game with so many bugs.
I think I was listening to a few different players that were saying there's been some bugs that they've played for 10, 15 hours. They haven't really seen any of the big, significant bugs. They've seen a lot of stuff like this, like characters that are stuck, or characters that animations get broken. So they just sort of stand around and do nothing, or stand in odd poses. Oh, this guy. Yeah, okay. He goes in to assassinate the guy, and he wakes up, and then goes right back to sleep.
Both things.
Here's this character. The textures didn't load on it properly for some reason.
Bro looks like classic RuneScape.
That is funny. That's the funniest
How
one.
does bro look like classic fucking RuneScape?
Everybody else is fully rendered, and this motherfucker is a potato.
This looks like not even PS1. You know what I mean?
Oh no, it's terrible. Oh, the horse is like stuck in the river.
That was like Nintendo Entertainment System 1 or something.
Yeah, it was bad. Yeah, that was pre PS1.
Pre PS1, yeah.
Polygons. Yeah. Let's see if we can get. Oh, no! He assassinates the guy, and then his corpse is walking around with no head.
Vex Electronics says a new standard for 98% play games is released ASAP to fix later price.
Check his boat.
That is ridiculous.
Yeah, this one's pretty good.
What?
What? Whoa! What the? What just happened? What just? Somebody clip that shit, please. What just happened? Anyway, it's not going well, I guess.
It doesn't look like it's going well, no.
I did see a Dead Man asked if I saw a cutscene with the headless guy. Yeah, I have seen. There's another one out there. I don't think it's in that clip compilation, but there's another one out there with there's like a guy just like in a cutscene. He just has no head.
But by the way, if you're new to the show and you haven't yet subscribed to our channel, this is a good time to do it. And if you're on Rumble, watching through the app, make sure to sign up. It's free, and to follow us, which is also free. So that's all stuff that you guys should do.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
And I guess we kind of were pushing it aside. Maybe we can just talk a little bit about, because we can't. It's like an elephant in the room. But the whole Snow White fiasco.
Oh yeah. Hey, before we get started there, though, we've got a super chat.
Oh, okay. Yes, I see Joshua Calkins. Let me try to share this so that we see his on screen. And I did a like, so 6 won't tell me that I didn't do a like. And yeah. It's Ghost of Tsushima is great, but the sequel, no. And then Dexter's Lure Lab is now a member of the channel. So welcome.
Welcome, Dexter's Lure Lab. We appreciate it.
Welcome, Dexter's Lure Lab. That's a difficult thing to say. It's like a tongue twister.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Dexter's Lure.
So yeah, Joshua Calkins, Ghost of Tsushima, yes, a fantastic game. Actually, I've been wanting to get back and go and play through that again. I never played it. There's a DLC island that got added later, and I finished the game and moved on to other stuff long before that DLC came out. And I've been wanting to go back and play it again. It really is a fantastic game. The sequel, I'm not sure about that one. That looks like that might be a little girl bossy. Not too excited for that one. So we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, it does show a lot of potential to be a bit of a mess. So
yeah, I agree. Where are we at with the Space Plus? You know what? I have to take it more seriously. Let me see what I could do. In any case,
Oh,
yeah, so I guess just we'll quickly go over it. We talked about it, and I think a lot of people have been talking about it, but there was an angle even on the previous show that I was on, and I talked to some people about the whole Snow White fiasco. There was one thing that I think we kind of glossed over, and I think that here on this channel we can talk about it, which is cool. There was a weird thing? Weird. You'll never be able to say weird without thinking of Rachel
weird,
Zegler being weird.
weird. Yeah,
Exactly.
maybe one day we'll forget, and it will forget because we haven't heard anything from Rachel Zegler
It's
in
not.
a
No,
really long
it's
time.
like rainbows. It's gone, that word. Like rainbows. I don't know if you remember when we were kids. This is so off topic. When we were kids, rainbows were considered cool. People were like, "Look, it's a rainbow," and kids loved that stuff. They had rainbows in the classroom, rainbows at home, and like the thing is that when you said you liked a rainbow, decades ago, there was nothing wrong with like. Okay, there's not that I'm saying there's something wrong with now, but I'm saying like I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with it. I'm just saying that it wasn't like you're supporting some cause or something. That's what I'm trying to say. Are you with me?
Yeah.
I want to clarify that was like a sort of gaffe. I like Bidened my way in that sentence, and I didn't mean it that way. Because I really I say this seriously. I don't care what people do in their personal life. I don't care whatever preferences they have, as long as like people aren't sort of bothering me or trying to tell me all these different things or invent like new genders and all this weird stuff. I think people should do whatever is good for them. So I just want to clarify that. But all I'm saying is that the rainbow used to just be a cool thing that a kid puts in his room. That's been hijacked. In a way, the rainbow was the first Last Jedi. Do you get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That was like the first time that somebody said, "Hey, you like this rainbow? Well, guess what?" Am I a crazy person, Professor?
No.
No, but do you know what I'm talking about? That initially people had rainbows in their rooms, like it wasn't considered anything beyond that.
No. It was kind of there was a joy and just happiness about it, and there was just a beauty of the rainbow, and there's even for some people there's religious significance to the rainbow, and then now it's all been co-opted for one thing or another, specifically for homosexual, gay agenda stuff. But you also now can't think about rainbows without thinking
Right.
double rainbow all the way.
Right. So you can't not think about rainbows and think of stuff like that. And then the weird, like, it goes along with she owns that word. That'll be a meme that'll go on for years. It's gonna be a bigger meme than Jodie Turner Smith from The Acolyte of like, yes.
Yes. Oh,
That one's still a good one. That's
oh God, no.
that one's still a good one.
I can still do the weird longer than the yes thing. Like, that drives me crazy. Yeah.
The weird thing is so strange. It was
Yes.
such a strange thing for her to say.
Yeah.
Didn't
It's Hollywood, baby.
I don't think I've ever seen an interview that somebody comes off as so like arrogant and annoying in an
Oh,
interview.
she's the worst. Just
And it's like sometimes you have a situation where you're like, well, people don't understand this person, so he's just coming off that way, but he's actually like really wonderful. But in Zegler's case, it doesn't seem that way. It really doesn't. It seems like we're getting a glimpse of exactly who she is in her case.
yeah, I don't think she's a good enough actress to hide who she actually is. I think
No.
I think we can all see through it, right? We can all see.
The only thing, yeah, I mean, even some people were saying, oh, like, there's been talk if she's like a good actress or not. I don't think she's the best actress. I think in something like a musical, especially again in theater or even on the screen like this, her strengths were that she could sing the songs. I want to clarify, she could sing them because she knows how to belt out the right notes and she's able to sing. Can't take that away from her. But her singing, it's not like it has some wonderful character. It's not so pleasing. It's not like you listen to her and you're like, you're immersed in her personal character that really like draws you in. She can hit the notes. Sometimes there's people that are like very mechanical without a lot of character. They can just hit all the right notes. She could do that. But she's still not likable. Even on screen, even if I didn't know anything about her, if I didn't see all the weird and the princess stalker and all this stuff, and I just saw her on screen, she doesn't have that something that makes you like her.
No. Yeah, I think I've seen it probably said other places before, but yeah, people say, "Oh, she's a good actress, whatever." No, I really don't think she is. There's different levels of actors, performers, and the peak, the pinnacle of that art. I forget that you're an actor playing a character. When you're playing that character, you have become that character. You have embodied that character to a
Right.
to a level that I'm not seeing an actor anymore. I'm seeing the character that you're portraying. And there have been some amazing actors that have really done that. Like really just embodied the characters that they're playing. And that is the peak. Now, there's not a lot of actors that can do that. Not a lot of actresses that can do that. But it you see that occasionally. Now there's a level below that where they're really good performers. You can feel the emotion. You can see what they're trying to do in their face and with how they use their voice and how they use their physicality. And those are also really good actors. And sometimes it's just a matter of the part and how well they sort of are able to put themselves into who they're playing, and some of that could come down to the actor and the script and everything else. But then there's also there's other actors. You've got her and lots of other actors where you can see there's an actor there reading a script. They're on the screen. They're performing the lines. No matter how well they deliver the lines, no matter uh, what they do, they are still just an actor up there performing those lines.
I'm going to say something that people are going to have, maybe an issue with, but for a long time, I sometimes feel that way about Leonardo DiCaprio. Like everybody thinks he's the best actor, and I think he's okay, but a lot of times when like I watch a movie with him, and especially as the movie begins, I kind of see him as Leonardo DiCaprio playing that character.
Mhm.
Somehow over the course of the movie, I kind of get over it and I'm just okay with it. He's not the worst actor, but at the same time, I think also that people sometimes speak of him as a greater actor than I think he is.
Yep. Yep. Somebody mentioned Phantom Monk mentioned Christian Bale. Uh, he is one of those actors that I've seen just disappear into a part. Right. That's a great example. Um,
Daniel Day-Lewis too,
Daniel
and
Day
Christian
Lewis.
Bale is fantastic.
Yeah, Daniel Day Lewis, another one. Just sort of just disappearing into the part, and then you just see the character that they're playing. We saw in maybe not the best example. Obviously, there's a lot of makeup and everything involved, but we saw Colin Farrell playing the Penguin.
that's
I
really
was
good
not
performance.
seeing Colin Farrell.
No, I wasn't, and he did great with. You don't even think about Colin Farrell when you see that. Honestly, he gave
Yeah,
a really good performance. Uh,
but
I'm
yeah,
trying to think. Listen, I know that Denzel Washington, maybe in some roles, he's kind of similar to the way he acted in another role. But man, when that guy is on screen, he like convinces you 100% that whatever he's saying, that's what's happening.
yeah, and I would say he's definitely had a variety of different roles where he's really, like I said, there's really that absolute peak where you just sort of disappear into the character. I think he's done that on some occasions, but and most of the time probably he's just below that, right? He's doing really well. He's embodying it with a character. He's got the physicality, and he's got the way you use your face and your voice and everything to sort of make that character a reality. That's not bad acting. That's really good acting. It's not quite that absolute peak that you get to all the time. And I think consistently he's at those upper levels. He's an
Oh, of
incredible
course.
actor.
I think
Incredible actor.
there almost no movie like I've rarely seen a movie with him in it that didn't at least have some value just because he was in it. Like I'm talking about Denzel Washington.
Sure. Yeah. He's an excellent actor. I love him. And Price of Reason has gotten dropped out. Let's see. Oh, here he's back. Jumps right back in.
Yeah, I mean,
That
well, I'm
means
not
I'm
saying
probably
that
gonna
Denzel
get kicked out in a moment.
probably. I'm not saying Denzel Washington doesn't have range. He has a ton of range.
He
I'm
does.
just like with him, there's just something also about his on-screen personality or something like that. You're just drawn in. Like he totally captures your attention, and he's that kind of actor. So yeah, we're talking about like Zegler. Zegler is the opposite of that. Zegler, like if you put her
Mhm.
with Denzel Washington, I think it would be kind of embarrassing. Maybe he's so good he could carry the both of them in a scene, but I, I'm not
Yeah.
on Zegler for that scene.
Yeah. Matthew Marcello mentioned Denzel Washington in Glory. See how much he can disappear into a character. Yeah. Uh,
Absolutely.
I'm not ashamed. I cried when I saw that movie the first time, and it was Denzel. It was his acting, his performance. When you saw the absolute torture on his face during the scene where he's being whipped for having deserted, and you see the look in his eyes and the tears as he's just staring at them, just so accusingly. Do you not see what you're doing here? Do you not see how you're treating me? And it was incredibly moving, and one of the most amazing performances I've ever seen, frankly.
Yeah, and I've like I said, there have been movies that actually weren't such good movies, and they became better just because he was in the movie. Uh, I can think of a few of them. The one that there's a hurricane in his town or something, that is like a by the numbers movie that you barely even remember, but you remember that he carried it. The I've said this before. Is it called not the Bone Collector? Is it the Bone Collector? The Bone something about bones. I don't know what.
Yeah.
The
I don't think I saw that one, but yeah.
Bone Collector is Denzel Washington. He's completely paralyzed. Okay, I think that
Okay.
maybe he can only move his pinky, and he's lying in a bed. And he's an ex-cop that something happened, and he became paralyzed. And there's like a serial killer running around, and for some reason, maybe because in the past he interacted with this guy, or the somehow was involved in the investigation, so he's still running the investigation from his hospital bed. Are you with me?
Yeah.
The whole movie, Denzel Washington is lying on a hospital bed and he can't move. And he's just sitting there and like with like a headphone and telling like people like Angelina Jolie, who's a cop, he's like, go down here, go to this street, do this, do that. And he's like sending other people to do stuff while he's kind of in bed and he can't move. You're on the edge of your seat for the whole movie. Which like
Yeah.
I don't know how many actors can lay like in the same place for like 2 hours and you'll be like so into the movie.
I'm sure it was more than 2 hours too, for him,
No, for the
obviously.
character, it's like
Yeah, just
70
the
million
character.
hours, but I'm saying
Yeah,
like in just anytime you see in the movie, he's in the same hospital bed. He's not going to
just laying
suddenly
there. Yeah.
yeah, it's not like suddenly he's like, "You know what? I'm gonna get up and and go outside. Let me go talk to some suspect." No, he is laying in bed. He's not moving, and the whole thing you're like sitting and it's like, I don't know. I don't know if other people like that movie. I like it. I've seen it once. I admit I've only seen it once.
Who
Really
else is
enjoyed
in
it.
it? Angelina Jolie? Hmm, okay.
Angelina Jolie looks like, like I don't want to sound like a dick. How do I say this? This is like prime Angelina Jolie. Is that a dickish thing to say of me?
No, 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 yeah, she looks real good in this role. She looks good in the movie. That's fine.
It's like a
Fine by me.
prime time
Yeah.
situation.
Peak. You could say it's peak Angelina Jolie.
Peak Angelina Jolie, yes.
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting. I mean, I think she's kind of a weirdo today, but
Yes, I would agree.
it's not like if you show me a picture of her, I think that like she's disgusting. She probably is still pretty. It's
Yeah.
just she's kind of a weirdo. So that the weirdo is the part that's kind of a bit of a turnoff in this case, but not in that Bone Collector movie. In that Bone Collector movie, she was like on top of her game. That was great stuff.
Yeah. All right. So what was our last topic? We were going to talk a bit. We were talking about Snow White, and we were going to. Oh yeah, we
Oh
were thinking
yeah,
about
there was
the Rachel Zegler thing that
right,
happened
right. The one thing
today.
that
Yeah,
we
the
didn't talk about
Variety
in the other
article.
thing. I want to pull up this article. So
Yeah.
let's find this thing. Variety. Rachel Zegler. So it's so funny how Variety, they were in on the shill. Remember, just 5 minutes ago. Professor, remember how they were in on the whole thing with the reviews and all the shilling and everything? 5 minutes ago, they were on board, right?
Sure enough.
So now, like seconds later, they've turned their code in 20 seconds. Now they're like inside Disney's Snow White fiasco. Death threats, beefed up security, and a social media guru for Rachel Zegler. So the thing with this article is, and I'm just going to go quickly because we've talked about it in a lot of shows, and I don't want to spend 7 hours on it. But the bottom line is that this is the throwing Rachel Zegler under a bus article. Basically, in it, for those who are not aware, they talk about the fact that Disney apparently were not happy when she tweeted out her Palestine tweet, that they apparently were not happy with it. And the film's producer, Scott Platt, or I don't know what his name is, he flew out to wherever she was at and tried to convince her personally to remove the post, which she said she wouldn't do. This is just, I'm telling you, Professor, really, really the type of behavior that gets you like little work later. You know what I mean? These are
Yes.
the behind the scenes things. Like a studio is sending you like the producer personally to ask you to remove something. You tell them no, like fuck off. That's usually not good. Don't forget, this young lady probably got millions to be in this crappy movie. Most people, how hard do they have to work to make millions of dollars? Most people can only dream of that. But most people during a lifetime won't make what she made for this stupid thing. With all of her snooty and annoying behavior. And I guess after that Palestine tweet, they wanted her to take it down, and she wouldn't. And then they say that this caused to an increase, in death threats against Gal Gadot and her family. So Disney then ended up having to beef up her security. This all just doesn't paint a very positive picture, in my opinion, in general.
At all, no.
But the part that I thought, and this is the part that I think everybody's been talking about, and we talked about it a few times, really seen me in other places talking about it. But what I will say, there's a few things. The first thing that really captured my attention, I'm trying to find this here. Let me see if I can find here. I'm sharing this, right?
Yep.
So months later at D23, she criticized the original 1937 note, noting blah, blah, blah. One top agent says that was the moment that Disney allowed Zegler to control the narrative. The first time she shoots her mouth off, you nip it in the bud. Instead, the studio said nothing, and purists began to revolt. And as time went on, Disney became increasingly loath to weigh in on anyone's speech, considering that the studio was sued in 2024 by actress Gina Carano, who claims she was fired from The Mandalorian for voicing her opinions on hot-button issues. Now, this is the part that's really bizarre to me, that somehow they're trying to tie this whole thing to Gina Carano. For starters, let's be clear, Gina Carano did not do anything that Zegler did. You know what I'm saying? Like, they are not one and the same. Gina Carano was respectful towards her customers and fans. She wasn't mean to people that liked her character or her. The arguments, people are like, oh, with the pronouns or not pronouns. The way I saw it, some activists were harassing her. I don't think that she said or did anything that was all, that didn't require like World War III. It was just nonsense. And the big thing with her stupid meme, is it a meme that I would have posted? I probably wouldn't have posted it myself. It's not a meme that I would, prefer. But at the same time, it also isn't the end of the world. She basically said something. She mentioned some facts that happened in history, and she mentioned it in a post. I mean, that did not justify the type of humiliation they put her through, especially when I think that her intent wasn't bad. But Rachel Zegler is a bitter, vindictive, and sorry for using this word, in my opinion, bitch. She basically saw that Gal Gadot was getting like more favorable press from that trailer, that people were saying that she looked more pretty than Zegler, so like, the movie wouldn't work, and she went out like kind of like like we were saying earlier, like a passive aggressive thing, and she started like tweeting like Palestine. She didn't even tweet anything about that prior. Suddenly it's so important, you know what I mean? For some reason. And yeah, I don't know. There is very little path for redemption for Rachel Zegler. And I don't think she should be compared. Do you think that it's fair to compare her to Gina Carano? I don't think so.
No, not at all. First of all, the first time I read this and I was thinking about this, I thought this makes absolutely no sense. All right, so let's think back to Gina Carano's case. right? Let's think back to Gina Carano, and when they dismissed her, they ended her contract, they sent her packing, and essentially, once this came to court, they said, well, it's a First Amendment issue. We're allowed to have relationships with anyone that we want, and she said things that we don't want to have, tied to our brand or tied to our business. Okay, understood. That's your argument. But now you're saying that it's okay that Rachel Zegler said these things. We're not going to fire her. We're not going to end her contract. We're not going to can her movie because she said these things. We're going to allow these things. So by saying that, oh well, we felt so threatened by Gina Carano's, this thing, whatever. So then we couldn't touch people. That doesn't make any sense, because now what you're saying was, if you're following me here, what they're saying is, well, because we have the right to not approve of her speech, so we can fire her, but now we're going to keep her, we're going to keep Rachel Zegler on, which means that they do approve of her speech. They're
This
okay
is
with it.
one. It proves that they're okay with the speech, but there's another strange situation here, and this is really where they're like this thing is really sneaky and stupid. Is that if they were smart, you know what they would have done? They would have fired Rachel Zegler. And then you go to court and Gina Carano says, listen, I only, look, I gave my opinions and they didn't agree. They didn't align with my politics, so they fired me. And they could say, well, we didn't align with your politics, but we also didn't align with this lady's politics, and we fired her as well. But
Yeah.
what did they do? Nothing. They're like, well, Gina Carano, we fired her, so now we won't fire Zegler.
Yep.
That's not, that logic doesn't work for me.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. The logic doesn't follow. We were, oh well, we fired her for her, views.
Right. This is
but
mental
we
gymnastics.
we didn't fire Zegler for her views because we fired Gina. No, that doesn't work. That's those two things don't track. If you want to be able to defend yourself in this in this situation against the lawsuit brought by Gina Carano, you have to prove that you're going to act in the same way against other actors, other people in your organization, because they have posted political views or whatever. Otherwise, you are then just tacitly admitting, well, we fired her, but not because she did something, whatever, but because we didn't approve of the specific speech that she made. We did not like her viewpoint, and that was the reason she was canned. Not that she said something, that was, an issue, right? That they thought shouldn't have been touched on, and so she's in it. No, or that she was being political, and they don't want anybody to be political. No, it's very clear that she was let out of her contract. She was dismissed because they didn't like the speech she was engaging in, but they're perfectly okay with the speech that Pedro Pascal gets into. They're perfectly fine with the stuff that Rachel Zegler says. They're perfectly fine with the stuff that any other a number of other actors and actresses say. And so, all of this is just severely hurting their case.
And I'll tell you this, and this is really interesting because this there's something that plays into stuff that I used to do. So I've said it before, and I've mentioned before that I used to book talent for events and things like that. And sometimes you have talent that's problematic. Okay.
Yep.
And if let's say it's an artist, and I'll get back to this in a second. If it's an artist, let's say you book that artist, and they wanted that artist to perform at some event, or even it's a corporate event or whatever it is, and that artist was a pain in the ass. Everything about him arriving is a pain in the ass. He's not there on time. He's not doing everything. He's just doing a bunch of problems, and just at the end also delivers a lackluster performance, and nobody seems happy. You know what usually happens?
What?
That person doesn't get, from anybody involved here, probably won't get invited back. You know what I mean? It's not worth the trouble. If somebody, let's say even somebody asks me, a few months later, hey, we have an event. Do you think that you have an idea? Could this artist be good for this? I'd say, No, I don't think so. You really don't want the headache. You know what I mean? Like it's not worth it for anybody. And at the end, you also don't get something good. And then they'll be like, "Oh, what do you suggest?" And you go for something else. Now, the only exception to this, and this is the situation that Rachel Zegler is in, just not in booking for like actual performances, live performances, more just in movies. You know what I'm saying? But the only way that you could overcome this, that you could act like an asshole and it would still work, is if like you were really like a very popular artist and your show like was a slam dunk and everybody was ecstatic and it was the best thing that ever happened to anybody, then you could get away with being an asshole. But there's only a limited amount of people that could do that. Meaning, I don't know what like Christian Bale is in real life, but if he was on a set and then like we saw once that he's like, we can't be friends anymore, whatever that whole thing that he gets upset.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, I guess what I'm saying is Christian Bale can yell at some guy on a set, but he's such a good actor that they'll still invite him more. But Rachel Zegler, she ain't no Christian Bale. You know what I mean? She didn't deliver the
Nope.
numbers. She doesn't have a track record. She is annoying beyond anything that you can comprehend if you're a studio head. And at the end, you look at the box office and there's nothing there. Cynthia Erivo is annoying, but they'll work with her again. Somebody will work with her, I guess.
Honestly, where I think Zegler should end up?
Broadway. That's all
Broadway.
she can do. That's all she
Broadway.
can do.
She
The
should end
only
up on Broadway. Act on stage. Go out there, sing, perform, be your big weird self. Over the top, whatever. And the people in Broadway are gonna love you. And just go do that. She's not a big screen actress. She hasn't had
no.
a single project that's been successful.
She doesn't have the quality either. I mean,
No.
listen, I even when I'm on Broadway, maybe on Broadway you're still in the theater, she's far away, maybe it could work somehow. But honestly, if you're at a movie theater and you're looking like a close-up shot, she's petite. She's not like, especially like she doesn't have this kind of very curvy appeal or whatever you want to call it. She's very petite. I don't think that she's like a striking beauty. Like, she's fine. I'm not saying that like I'm not saying that she's the worst thing that ever happened. She's cute or whatever it is in a way. It doesn't appeal to me because her behavior just overclouds everything. She's okay, but she's not like not that kind of A-list Hollywood actress, or what used to be A-list Hollywood actresses. I don't know what we do today, but it is what it is. In any case, just to sum up everything here, I think that like Zegler, I've been saying this a long time. I said it a long time before today that they were going to go through this contract with Zegler and then nobody's going to want to work with her, and they're not going to work with her again. And all of this is playing out as exactly as I said. But yeah, I guess the writing was on the wall. But with all of that being said, maybe we, you know, kind of go and check out the names of people today. And
Sure. Yeah.
I was booted out a few times
Yeah, that's
because
all right. I
I
think
know
I
you
got it.
have a long day tomorrow. So
No, I think I got it covered here. So first, I'd like to go back just real quick. Thank you, Joshua Calkins, for the super chat. We appreciate that for $1.99. And welcome again, Dexter's Lure Lab to channel membership. We appreciate that. Let's see. Who do we have in the chat tonight? I have Nerdick, Caleb Levine, D. Bud Martin, Empress NM, Eraserhead, the Supermod. Thank you for modding in the chat tonight, Eraserhead. We appreciate it. FKHC 2005, John Cetopia from the Barren Lands. Okay. Jonathan Conroy, Kelly Hans, Kivo 1961. Also, Kivo, thank you for your support over on Rumble. We appreciate that rant. Marla Sharondoff, friend of the channel. Mary White, Marks 47, Matthew Marcello, Murrockstro, good to see you. Phantom Monk, Phantom Outsider, Sean Green, Smilex. Hey there, Smilex. Storm King, Tim Hayes, Vex Electronica, another friend of the channel. We'll get her back on here one day when she's not going to sleep early at night. Apparently, when we started talking about Assassin's Creed, we woke her back up. So she wasn't very happy about that. Yitis, Zach Updegraff, The Dead Man, The Lovely Sherry, Elizabeth Quince, Jimmy Nature, Dr. Johann Kraus, PhD. Glad to see you there, Doctor. Hypno Crab, SWD40, Dexter's Lure Lab, Joshua Calkins, E. Clay Thompson, and Rabnad Skubla. Do you have any others that you think maybe I missed?
No, I think you did great.
Okay.
Did we?
All
We
right.
got all the super chats and all the stuff, right?
Yeah. I think we got it. I was
We
really
got everything.
happy to have everyone here tonight. We had a decent little crowd for our Tuesday evening. We had some almost 50 at one point over on Rumble, and had 30, 50 or so over on YouTube. So it's nice to see everybody
Yeah.
here tonight. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for hanging out with us, and hopefully we put a few people to sleep, Professor. Like Vex.
Yes.
And so we'll see you here on Thursday, and you guys all have a good night.
Yes.
Guess that's it.
Yeah. Take care, everyone.
See you later, guys.